you have to hop on the train that's going in the direction you want to go. And the challenge is, which one do you decide to let take you on the ride? Which thoughts, as they coming in, did you decide to say, I'm going to hop on that train? Welcome to a live episode of the Boy Man King podcast. Make some noise! Yeah. Man, super duper excited. Coach Crump with my great co-host Chizzy. Give it up for him.
What's going on, everybody, man? What's up, Nate, man? Good to see you. Man, it's been an amazing day. I know it's been a long day, but it's been a very fruitful day. We had a great time. A lot of amazing speakers. I'm so excited to be here, man, to be here today. It's good. And we finally got to chop it up with Nate, man. I'm a prayer line brother, man, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, give it up for Nate Evans Jr., man, our guest. We were just talking about his Achilles injury prior to the set, and just saying, unfortunately, he put the basketball in his hands, but the basketball put him back on the bench. You know what I'm saying? But this is an important note. Know your age and stage, right? See, what happens is Nate's in transition. Somebody say transition.
Transition.
And when you're in transition as a man, this is important. I want y'all to take your notes on this. You think you're younger than you are. And so you step on the court and you like, it's just like it used to be in my teens, in my 20s. And you got to understand, 30 is an important threshold in life. There's certain thresholds that's important. So let's take it easy, Dwight. We're going to get to your age too. All right? So he breaks the threshold and he says, no need to warm up because I never warmed up before. But you got the same. You know what I mean? You're the same, but your body is not. Can I get an amen, somebody? Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So he goes out there and then he went to do the layup line. Did the game start? Tell the people, did the game actually start?
Yo, why is he roasting you today? Why is he roasting you? Like, come on, man.
No, but man, tell us, man, introduce people to the brand of Nate Evans Jr. and all the great things you got going on, man.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, I appreciate both of you.
Sure.
Man, Nate Evans Jr., first and foremost, just a child of the Most High, husband, father.
That part.
Someone who loves to add value to people through my story, through my life experiences. I'm an advocate for mental health as somebody who's dealt with suicidal ideation, anxiety, depression. Really, I'm just someone looking to utilize the gifts that God has given me every single day.
Awesome, man. And tell the people about this conference you got coming up next month, man.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. It's my first major summit. So I've spoken at a lot of conferences, a lot of live events. And I had this vision last year leaving Las Vegas. So last year, I want to say it was July, it was the first time I've ever flown first class in my life.
Congratulations.
It's interesting because it's not that I didn't have the money to do it. I just didn't feel like it was for me. And I felt very convicted. I was flying out to actually go shadow Jeremy out in Las Vegas, and I had this nagging voice. I know it's the Holy Spirit now, but there was this nagging voice of like, get the ticket. Yeah. They had sent me an upgrade option. And I was like, man, this don't make sense. I'm already going to be on the plane. Why would I pay extra money for a seat that's in the front, right? That was my mindset, but the voice was just going. So I ended up getting the ticket, sitting in first class, and for the first hour, I felt very uncomfortable. And when I was up there, I'm looking around, I'm seeing what's going on. And for about the first hour, I'm just like, man, I don't belong up here. I didn't feel worthy of the seat that I was sitting in. And I'm looking out the window. From Philly to Vegas is about a 5-hour flight, a little over 5 hours. And I'm looking out the window, and that same still small voice that said, get the ticket, said, you are worthy. And I sat with that, man. And it wasn't until my flight back where I received that confirmation of like, Nate, you need to get to a space where you feel worthy of what I'm blessing you with. And my boy actually went with that. He's somewhere in here. He said this to me. He said, you need to get uncomfortable. I'm like, what's that mean? I'm the king of discomfort. I grew up, in poverty, lack, went to 9 different schools from first grade to high school. Like, I know what it's like to grow up uncomfortable and make it through, right, and do your thing. He said, no, you're missing it. He said, you need to get uncomfortable in luxury because you're so used to raggedy cotton.
That can preach. Shout out to Derek.
That thing hit me hard, man, and that's kind of where the concept of this summit was birthed. I felt like God was saying, put this summit on. I was like, I don't got the money for this thing. but my yes and my obedience opened the door to all types of opportunities and access. We're blessed to have you there as one of our main speakers, man, and we're bringing in people from all over the country. People are flying from as far as California and the UK to come in, to come here and come learn how to get to a space of feeling worthy enough and to get through self-sabotaging behavior. So yeah, it's going to be in Philly, 2-day summit. We're going to incorporate the arts because it is Philadelphia. So it's going to be art galleries, poets, performers. But we're going to get to the nitty gritty, man, and really help people overcome self-sabotage and self-worth issues.
Man, this is amazing. We're looking forward to this in Philly. But we're gonna take. I hate to digress a little bit. We're gonna take everybody on the journey because what we do here is we tend to peel back the layers so that people can see where you started from. Because obviously we see the refined Nate Evans Jr. now, still working with, still as the journey continues. But we want to start to explore what it looked like when you was a kid, growing up. You talked about suicidal ideation. You talked about, the necessity to really take mental health for yourself, make that a priority. Let's start from Philly. Growing up in Philly, you say you went to multiple different high schools. What was life growing up in Philly like for you, and how did that start to conjure up thoughts of self-harm? If you can remember back, just take us on a journey from household stuff, like what was your family life like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would transition back and forth to Philly. I actually grew up in South Jersey, Atlantic City, is the area. And we grew up, like I said, it was, lack. We didn't have much. It was 9 people living in a 3-bedroom household. And for me as a kid, I was exposed to gangs, drugs, violence, you name it, I was exposed to it. The issue was I didn't have a healthy outlet to release how I felt, right? There were no men around me who would allow me to express my emotions. In fact, the community that I grew up in, if you did express your emotions in a certain way, you could be disrespected. So for me, I bottled everything in, and my only safe outlet, my safe haven was sports. And it was what was ingrained, which was basketball. So anytime I felt stressed, anxious, worried, is I'm gonna go play ball. Yeah. Which was a healthy outlet, and at the same time, what happens, Achilles injury.
Sure.
What happens when you can no longer play? Those things have to come out. And for a young man, that's usually in like really abrasive behaviors and negative actions, right? But for me, I played ball, I put everything into it. It was my stress release. I got really, really good at it, right? Yeah. Super, super good at it, to the point where I got full ride scholarship. All of these incredible things, which seemed amazing. But again, I'm still dealing with the traumatic experiences of my youth, the things that I was seeing, the things that I was being exposed to as a very young kid. I was molested at a young age by an older woman. So a lot of different things happened, and I never expressed them, right? I just bottled it all in. But like a soda bottle, you shake it, shake it, shake it. What happened when you finally crack the top? It explodes, and at some point, I was going to have to explode if I did not release this thing in a healthy way. So fast forward, I survived high school, I like to say, get a full ride scholarship to go down to Memphis, Tennessee, to a school called Lemoyne College. Everything's paid for, and it was incredible, right? The summer before I was going to go down to school, I'm living with my papa. And I'm living with him, and he's so excited for me to go to college because he didn't have past a 3rd grade education. Okay. My parents never graduated high school. So I'm the trailblazer of the family, so there's a lot of additional pressure.
Sure.
Right? So 2 weeks before I'm supposed to go down to Memphis, Tennessee, mind you, he wants to drive me from New Jersey to Memphis because he's so excited about me going to school. Right. He's telling everybody in the community that I'm going to school. So he's so excited. 2 weeks before I was supposed to go, I come in the house from playing ball, and I see him on the couch in a lot of pain. I get nervous. So I'm like, all right, we got to take him to the hospital. So me and my brother, I got a younger brother who's 4 years younger than me. We get him in a car. We shoot over to the hospital. Long story short, we find out that he has intestinal gangrene. Now, I was young at the time. I'm 17. I don't know what that means. The doctor breaks it down. I'm like, Doc, can we get him back home? He said, look, you don't understand. What he has is a bacterial infection, and it's eating away at his intestines. Yeah. And there's nothing we can do to stop it or slow it down. And you may want to say your goodbyes. So when I talked about that soda bottle, that whole thing with the top popping, that was that moment for me.
How old were you at this time?
I was 17 at the time.
Parents, mom, dad?
Yeah, separated parents, but yeah, they're both in the same community. Yep.
Okay.
So I guess ultimately you go to school, you still went to college, but what happened with Papa?
So he passed away the next day. So he actually did. The last time I was seeing him, he had tubes in his nose and his mouth. He couldn't talk, and it really like messed me up bad. And I still had to go to school, so it was the first plane I've ever taken in my life to Memphis, Tennessee. I went down to school 2 weeks late. The first night on campus, I was a freshman and rooming with a senior because I came late.
Yeah.
First night on campus, he took me to a spot called Bill Street. We out there drinking, we smoking, all of these things that I don't do, but I'm trying to cope with what's going on.
Yeah, sure.
3 months after me being in school, I go to the head coach. I'm like, Coach, can I talk to you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I need to leave. He's like, huh? I said, yeah, I need to leave. But what he didn't understand that I was dealing with severe anxiety, severe depression, all of these is mental and emotional issues. So he allowed me to leave school, come back home. I ended up playing in the basketball tournament in North Jersey called the EKB. And I got another full-ride scholarship to go all the way to New Mexico this time, to a military institute. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I got a second chance.
Right.
Right, I got a second chance, God looking out. I was there for a year, and the same thing that happened in Memphis was the same thing that happened in New Mexico. And I ended up leaving that school too.
So just kind of help paint a picture for us. When you say you have these anxieties and like, what is it? What is the symptoms? What are you actually processing? What does it look like behavior-wise?
Yeah, for the anxieties, it's an obsession with a negative outcome. And what it does for me personally, it almost shuts my body down. Sweating, cold sweats, jitters, can't really get sentences fully out. And for me, it was a constant thing where I wasn't able to slow it down. And at the time, I didn't understand that you couldn't think your way out of thinking. So I was trying to think of positive stuff, like,
Right.
think positive, think positive, think positive. Not realizing my body was just responding.
Yeah, I did a workshop. Had to be a week ago. Oh, at the Mastermind in Mexico last week, and I was telling them like, do you think you can control your thoughts? And if you ask the person in general, they're like, yeah. I was like, no, you can't. Concentrate on just making me money for the next 60 seconds. That's the only thing I want you to come in your brain. Nobody went past 10 seconds before some random thought came in their head. And just to show you, like, even if you wanted to, you still couldn't control your thoughts. And I think that's so powerful because I was reading a book by Michael Manil called The Super Coach. And he's in the coach in our space, been doing it for 30 years. And he said that you have to train your thoughts. But I want to play on the words. You have to hop on the train that's going in the direction you want to go. Because your thoughts are just coming in and out. And the challenge is, which one do you decide to let take you on the ride? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you got porn, you got positive, you got negative, you got this, you got that, you got positive. But which thoughts, as they coming in, did you decide to say, I'm going to hop on that train? And I think that's so powerful when you talk about what it looks like is like when you're struggling as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, really kid, to be like, you are completely independent of your mom and dad, and your greatest influence in your life, your granddaddy, has passed, and you saw him with tubes in the nose. And now you got different grieving thoughts that never was there before, and memories that's making the future even more fearful, and you don't have that skill set. Because I think what we ultimately got to tell everybody that these things are skills. These things are not like, oh, I want to train my thoughts. It's like you have to learn.
Yeah, it's definitely something you practice. It's intentionality as it relates to your thoughts. As Jeremy was alluding to earlier, 80% of the time you have negative thoughts. 95% of the time you're replaying those thoughts over in your mind. So imagine what it takes for you to now reprogram your thoughts. And especially when it comes to mental health, and some things you can't even cognitively understand and control what it's like to, even though you want to know and you know that you have to try to control those thoughts, and you physically, psychologically cannot do that. You know what I mean? So this is the level. So to your point, as a 17-year-old young boy, to your point, you're completely oblivious to even what's going on with you internally, even physically. So when you throw hormones in that bag, it's a recipe for disaster. Do you remember clearly what the ideations felt like? Obviously, it stems from the depression and the anxiety, but can you remember a time or an instance where you actually felt this is something I might want to explore?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember it vividly, actually. It was, so I told you both about the two colleges but in total I actually went to 5. It was around the 4th college. We were getting evicted from our home. There was a lot going on. I had lost a really close friend.
Who was we? You know, you kind of skipped 2 colleges and went to number 4, and now it's a we.
While I was bouncing around, I was still when I would leave school, I would come back to my mom's house.
Okay.
Right.
So we as mom included.
Yeah. So mom's included. So mom, younger brothers, 3 cousins, nanny, and then my mom's dad, who's my other papa.
Okay.
All under one roof, being evicted. So that was happening on top of me bouncing around from school to school to school, trying to figure this thing out. And I remember very vividly one time being in the house. I don't know how I was by myself because there's so many of us living there, but being by myself, having the thoughts of, you know what, things would be better if I wasn't here. And the lie started to repeat itself over and over again. And then visually, I started to think of ways of how could I do this quickly and discreetly. And those were actual thoughts. I remember being in such a dark place, man. Such a dark place. And honestly, it was the grace of God. And something that I did during that time was journal. I did start journaling. I've always been a creative writer. So I started to journal and kind of share what I was feeling and what I was going through. And I was kind of reading. I was like, man, why is this so dark? You know what I mean? Why is this so dark? And the transition point was I had that moment. I survived that night. Let me say that. I survived that night. I'm playing ball with some friends the next day at the local rec center, and I get hurt. Twist my ankle, I go up, somebody undercuts me, I fall. I'm thinking it's a sprained ankle. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. A few days passes by, my ankle doesn't hurt anymore, but I don't have any feeling in the bottom of my foot. So now I'm nervous. They take me to the orthopedic surgeon, like you tore a bunch of ligaments in your ankle, you need to be in a boot. Now, I told you earlier how basketball was a scapegoat.
Yeah, all that.
It was the thing that I ran to. This was the first time in my life when I couldn't run anymore to basketball. So I had to sit there with the thoughts that I was having and acknowledge them. Because I couldn't go to the courts, I couldn't run up and down my boys. And when I started to really start to hear those voices, like, hey, what is this? Why am I saying this? Where did this come from? I kind of started to pinpoint things, and in that moment, I made a decision, a powerful decision where it's like, man, I'm at a fork in the road, and I can either stay where it's dark, or let me at least try something different. I don't know if this ain't gonna work called healing. I don't know if therapy gonna work, but I know negative thinking work, and it works all the time.
Right.
So, but I'm challenging, like at that time. I'm guessing you're like 22.
Yep.
So
Yeah, exactly.
so you 22. You're in your fourth college. What? Okay, you making a choice, but is something happened in between? You saying I know negative, and it sounds nice to say that now at 30 plus years old,
Right.
but at 22, how are you? What got you to the point where you're just conscious of I'm going to make a decision to choose this way of thinking?
If I can be completely honest, man, it was my wife who was my then girlfriend. I was watching her live her life, pursue certain things, and loving me through my flaws, and her loving me for who I was in that moment. I started to see myself in a different way, where it's like, yo, let's just try to make it through the day, Nate. Let's just try to grow a little bit more, Nate. And during that time,
Hold on, let's give it up for his wife again, man. Round of applause, man.
She encouraged me to do a lot. But during that time, seeing how she loved me despite my flaws,
Come on.
it did something for me within myself where I started to value myself just enough to try to make it through the day. I wasn't fully on board with Nate, but it was just like, yo, just enough. Just enough. And I made that.
Did she know you were suicidal?
She did not. She knew I was in a really dark place, and she's very intuitive, so she can like kind of read stuff, read my body language, all of that. But she didn't know it was till that extent. You know what I mean?
And at this point, at 22, at the 4th college, after the being evicted and all of that, you was at that place where you was trying to really process, hey, how can I do this discreetly? All of that was actually happening in this real time.
Absolutely.
And nobody knew?
Nobody knew.
Listen, so this is, it's apparent to me that there is an obvious greater calling on your life. Because given the variables that you just talked about, in spite of the fact that you had a supportive girlfriend at the time, and because so much was going on, the trajectory was supposed to go very different,
Yep.
given the variables, right? So I don't want anyone to undervalue purpose and the calling that you have in your life that sometimes you have to endeavor to step into. So these are conscious choices that you're making, but there are some people obviously who struggle in the same area who aren't fortunate enough to be able to transition past that. What would you say to those individuals who feel stuck?
Man, those individuals that feel stuck, 'cause I know what that feels like, where you feel like you feel like this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is as good as it's going to be. This is what it is. Don't believe that lie.
Yeah.
Don't believe the lie, man. The thing about mental health, the thing about suicide, the thing about being in that dark place is you feel like, again, this is it, and you'll never get to a better place. And what happens is you only got to believe the lie one time.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the unfortunate part. You only got to believe it one time, and for it to successfully go through one time. And if you can get to a place, like I said, where you're not projecting so many days ahead, but you're like, yo, let me just see how I can get through this day. Let me do something to bring joy to myself today. After a while, you build that muscle. Because that's where I started to learn to build resilience when I was in that fork in the road moment. I started to take one intentional step at a time, and I got stronger. You know what I mean? I think about, the Achilles now. Every step that I take has to be a very intentional step, or I can get hurt again. I have to be very cognizant of that. I got to be paying attention every move that I make. And with every step that I take, I'm constantly getting stronger. So just because I made a decision in that moment, everything didn't change, but one day at a time I got better, I got stronger. You know what I mean? I was able to pull myself out of that dark place, and shortly after that, I made the decision to recommit my life to Christ. So I was like, I don't want to be lukewarm anymore.
I kind of want to help people see some things that, as a coach, do you see that really made it? So it goes to be like I'm a college dropout, and my family is getting evicted, and you let one person in intimately to you, and I'm not talking about sex. I hope y'all stay with me. You let one person in on getting access to my spirit, getting access to my emotions, and then that person says the right thing for you to take one more day attempt and another day. Then that leads to getting baptized, getting married, and having a successful speaking career with her, being your business partner, with her, helping you host this conference next month. How long you guys been married?
Yeah, so we've been married going on 3 years.
Yeah, give it up, clap it over here. But how long y'all been together?
We've been together since 2009.
So over, that's almost 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, clap it up again, man. And let me tell you why I say that, and I want us to transition to, I'll throw it back to you. Because we got to stop looking for credit and just being okay with just being there, just being supportive. Like, I had a moment, my wife spoke at the mastermind last week for the first time, right? But she's been practicing for 20 years. And I've been watching her practice and the same woman that was on that stage, where she ran? Where's she to? She's back there serving people. But the point I was making is she's been watching me speak for 18 years, right? She's been under other mentors. She's been to, I don't know how many masterminds, how many speakers she's seen evaluated. So I was like, babe, there's more in you than you realize. Just because it's your first time being on stage, it's your first moment. But I've been watching you practice for 20 years. I'm just like, I love to hear when we support each other in our respective spaces, because everybody wins. And it isn't about who gets credit, who doesn't get credit, but falling in love with, like, in those. I tell you all, I'm not a coach that you want to take to parties. I'm a coach that you bring your pain. You come to me when you're in pain, so that we can move into your purpose with that pain. And we got to find those people, and it's not a lot, maybe only one. But you got to find that one where you can respectfully bring your pain to, and they don't use it and weaponize it against you.
Vital. Yeah.
And so for me, and I hear, the reason why I'm passionate about this, because she could have easily been like, look at this dude. He done quit 4 colleges. He done had multiple college scholarships. And now him and his whole mom and them got kicked out. Do you know what the average person would say to a black man at 22 years old
We
who
know
was
the
in
answer
that,
to that, for sure.
in that circumstances? Because the reason why I'm stopping to share that part, because that happened to me.
Mhm.
When I wasn't nothing, when I didn't have nothing, my wife, as my girlfriend, spoke life into me that I didn't see. So when I look at what people are praising me now 20 years later, it's hard for me to accept it, not because I'm doing my thing, but I know where I was 20 years ago, and it was just her. We was in an apartment, living check to check, living week to week, living day to day, looking at, hey, can I get $45? Man, we get $45. We can make it through the week, go to Walmart, go to gas station, and get these 3 things. We can make it the rest of the week, and my goal was to get $45. So when I see this now, I'm like, I just remember when I was just, the goal was $45. So for me, it's an honor to see her, the woman that's been behind me, watching me on stage, watching me on a platform, watching me, and she just like doing her job, doing her support, doing her thing. To see her get on stage, it was like, praise God. Because it wasn't about her speech that was on that stage last week.
Right.
It was about the 20 years of supporting me while I try to get through my go-through and getting my recognition for it to come back around. So when you were sharing that about yours, it's like, the reason why I said I'm going to go to your conference and bless your conference, and me and my wife going to come as well. And thank you for the opportunity, because I want to bless you and your wife and what y'all planting seeds and what you got going on to get your worth. So give it up again, man, for yourself, bro. Yeah.
So for the single guys out there, because some of us left there, who are still aspiring to develop self, to find your queen, to find that groove, so to speak. The key takeaway for me is work. Is the work on me. Because, of course, in your situation, you had a supportive girlfriend at the time who saw something in you, similar to you, Crumb. You had a supportive girlfriend at the time that saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. But for the individual man who's still struggling, who's having those same thoughts, who's having those same feelings, the internal struggle, because there's nothing in your head, there's nothing outside externally that's saying, I believe in you. I believe in you. What would your recommendation be for intentionality, even today? Because at the end of the day, it's still you. It still requires you to make a choice. It still requires you to spend time with yourself. It still requires you to make an investment in yourself through your spiritual walk, through your daily routines. How does it manifest today? Because these things will just wake up and just disappear. Mental health is something that will last with you, stay with you for the rest of your life. It just comes down to management, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, or what treatment you receive, or what therapy you go to. What does the day look like for Nate Evans Jr. today, a spiritual man, a speaker, a successful entrepreneur and businessman? What does today look like, and tomorrow looking like for you?
Yeah, I mean, very practically, and I'll be, brief about it. I tell people all the time, I'm not too far removed from where I was. So that keeps me humble. That keeps me, at the feet of God. That keeps me constantly working on my mental health. First thing before I even acknowledge my wife and my son, my feet hit the ground. I thank God. I go and practices the crown covenant. I do these things religiously because I realize if I'm not working on me, if I'm not improving who I am, these people that I say I love, I'm giving them a mediocre version of myself because I won't take the time for me. So for me, I made that commitment to be like, look, Nate, you have to be the number one priority. You have to pour into you. You have to seek God first. And then everything else that's around you that's a major priority, including your wife and son, they can get the best version of you. But that only happens when you work on you. And I'm very, very much aware of that.
I agree 100%. I think Jeremy was saying it earlier. Somebody was saying, excuse me if I'm misquoting, find 3 things that you can do. Jeremy said it. Yeah. Find 3 things that you can do that only involves you, that could be a part of your routine.
I know I do. I have my own lunch date with myself. My wife be calling. She's like, where are you? I'm at lunch. With who? Myself. And she hangs up. And that means she got an attitude, right? And I'm like, next, I want some fries and a chicken sandwich to go with that order. And I'm sitting there watching it because I need that me time. You know what I mean? Everything's not going to be an announcement. It's not. And I bring her what she want back. She got to bring that to-go package. You know what I mean? To-go package. I said, I got you, baby. You're not here, but you're here in spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're here in
Right.
spirit. I could feel your presence. But I'm gonna bring your food to go because I need to get away from myself and spend a 2-hour lunch break with myself, my thoughts, and whatever I want to do in the middle of the week. It's important for my mental health to do that. That ain't got nothing to do with flexing, stunting, whatever. I just need that when it comes to the constant roles and responsibilities. So that's my one.
Yeah.
And close us out, Chizzy.
Yeah, I mean, I similarly, anyone that knows me knows that in the mornings, devotion, prayer life, gym. That's my 3. I don't question them. I don't compromise them. Sometimes life can happen, but I found, and even I can remember as a kid, even today, my dad's in the audience every morning. I remember seeing my parents do Bible study. Sometimes I'll participate. A lot of times I didn't. But now for me, in terms of my priorities, I recognize that those things set the stage for the entire day. Because without that, it almost feels like I feel incomplete. I don't feel like the day is going to, because as we know, once we leave the confines of your house, anything can happen. We've had obstacles just being here trying to make the conference take place, from picking up flyers to doing everything. The enemy, especially when you're on a pathway to doing God's work, he recognizes that he's going to do everything in his power to derail that. So it's vital that you actually ground yourself every morning. I'll say that to everybody that's in the audience. Find those things that can ground you every morning, mind, body, and soul. And I can guarantee you, you will benefit and your family will benefit as well.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for a live recorded Boy Man King podcast. Make some noise.
Yeah.
And we like to say on the Boy Man King podcast, the journey
continues.
continues, man. Y'all be blessed. Thank you.